Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt had it going on because not only was he a little bit chubby, but he loved like nature and conservation. And there's something that's like super cute about that, like this big gruff man, and he's like, "Ooh, but I like animals." Ooh. Didn't you like hunting? You can like hunting and still believe in conservation efforts. He was like super big and like that's basically, if you meet anyone in like Montana, they're kind of like a similar way where this is becoming really like almost a little borderline political, but Montana itself is considered like a Republican state. But one thing that seems to be like very important to people there is like conservation and nature, just because it's like such a, you know, it's such a wild state in the sense that there's a lot of like farmers and open land and national parks and very important things there. Yeah, and I think like after the disaster of the Berkeley Pit, everyone is like, okay, you know what? Maybe having a big toxic mining residue pit in the middle of our state isn't the best look. Fun fact, Lyndon B. Johnson has a famously huge penis. Okay, how big? How big is it then? Montana looks cold as fuck though. Oh, it gets cold. Oh yeah, it gets cold. That gets cold as fuck. The massive Johnson. My massive Lyndon B. Can you tell the details for the non-North Americans here? Yes. So Montana is a really unpopulated state in the United States. And it's very big and open, and it's in the northern part of the US, right next to Canada. And what they have there is they have a bunch of national parks, which are like protected parks by the government. And people like visit and they see like natural beauties like geyser and animals and mountains. And you know, there's kind of like a little bit of the way people describe politics here in the US is every state is given like oh, this is a blue state, or oh, this is a red state. And what that means is blue is considered mostly votes Democrat and red is considered mostly votes Republican. The big toxic pit in Montana is called the Berkeley Pit. And the Berkeley Pit is this really interesting lake where back in like the early 1900s and late 1800s, a bunch of people moved there because there was so much natural resource to mine, like iron and especially gold and silver, right? And gold and silver, and everyone was moving there for like job opportunity, and they wanted to make money, and so they were mining all this gold and silver, and they were over mining. And unfortunately what happens, especially back then when you overmine, is you don't know what to do with the mining residue. And a lot of this is like different toxic minerals and like stuff that you can't do anything with. And so you're like, oh, what do I do with this? And back then what they decided to do, because they were mining so fast, is they all throw it into this big lake. Right? They throw it into this big lake You know, it's all like lead and toxic mineral. And they throw it into this lake and it gets so bad. And they run out of resources to mine that this lake becomes completely toxic. You can't swim in it, you can hardly go near it. And when birds land on it, they almost instantaneously die. Right. So everyone is like, oh my gosh, what do we do? And they all move out of Butte, Montana. And the only thing left to say for it, which is funny because back in the day, people were like, oh, Butte, Montana, this is going to be the next Vegas. Like, everyone's gonna want to be here. Yeah, and so they have all this mining residue that eventually turns into this big, evil, toxic pit. And they're like, oh, well, I don't want to be here anymore because there's no opportunity. There's nothing to do. There's no more money, there's no more resources, and there's this big toxic pit. And they leave. And it's still there to this day. I guess kind of just like as a reminder, right? There's a really, really big documentary about it. It's literally just called Butte, Montana. So if you're curious about the toxic pit, then I mean, there you go. I mean, there's an entire documentary about it. Just in case you're curious, it's like something that I've learned to really care about. Like when you grow up there, you're like, oh no, that's terrible. And you kind of understand the repercussions of things like that. And regardless of what you think, like, oh, well, you care a little bit about the place you live. Like, wherever you live in the world, you want to make sure that all of the things you love about it will continue to be true. So, when you live in a place with a big, ugly, nasty, toxic pit, and people are like, oh, you live in the big, ugly, nasty, toxic pit place, kind of feels bad. Especially when Montana is, like, such an important place for, like, farming, ranching, natural resource. Still for, like, mining and geology. Yeah. So there's your lesson about the Berkeley Pit in Butte, Montana. In case you're curious. It's the Big Sky State. It is the Big Sky State. It's also called the Last Best State, which seems really like, you know, like self-sucky. But it's also called the state motto is Oro y Plata, which is gold and silver in Latin, because it was like a very big mining place. So, yeah. Yeah, and in Spanish. So, there's your information. And that's a great segue because we are going to be playing Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver together.